Welcome to a new edition of Whiskey, Games, and Nerd Stuff. Today's whiskey is we're going to continue drinking the Johnnie Walker High Rye. Let's go ahead and take a sip. For the price point, I really enjoy that. In today's game, we are going to go through and discuss and go through the first part of My City Roll and Build. So My City Roll and Build is a very simple yet fun roll and write. For those that aren't familiar with what a roll and write is where you roll the dice and you will write something on a piece of paper. This is a very compact game where you can take with you on the road. All you need is the pad, the dice it comes with, and a writing utensil. What's also cool about this is it's a legacy game, meaning that you can play just the one scenario or you can build it as on you go. As we play this, we are just going to go through and talk about Chapter 1, Episode 1, and the basic role play. Let's go ahead and take a sip. So basically what's going to happen, and I'll kind of go through this and we'll kind of talk about it a little bit more, is you're going to take these 3 dice. You're going to roll the dice, and you will match up these 2 circles. So what these 2 circles are going to do is give you the type of building, as far as the squares go, that you're going to make. This is going to tell you what you're going to do with the building, which will come into play later. So when we put this together, this is going to be 4 lengthwise. Now what you can do is you can go ahead and say I want it to be this way. I can rotate it that way. I can rotate it this way. However you want to do it. Now for the first playthrough, or the first dice, your first building has to be adjacent to a river. And what you want to do is you want to cover the rocks, because the rocks will cost you points. And then you want to go ahead and make sure that the trees you save, because you lose points if you cover the rocks, and you get points for every tree that's covered. So what will happen is, let's go ahead and take another drink real quick. There we go. I moved that a little bit closer to see if that makes a bit of a difference. So we want the first one to be adjacent to the river. So we're going to go ahead and mark these 4 squares. And then what we need to do is this is going to be saying fill it in. So we will go ahead and fill these in completely. The type of building will matter in the later episodes. There are going to be different building types and the scoring will come into it. But for right now, this won't matter as far, but we'll go ahead and do it for the practice. So I went ahead and do that. Now again, you can play this with solo or you can play it with multiplayer. So what would happen is if we were playing with a group of people and it is 1 to 6 players, you'd roll that first dice and everybody would do that first little pass right there, that first building. Everybody would get done. You'd give the dice to somebody else. You'd roll them again. And then as you see, when these match up, the 2 circles, you've got basically an L. So it's going to be 2 and 2. So you can do it this way. You can do it this way. But right now, we know it's going to be 2 and 2, a giant L. And it's also going to be a solid. Now, since it's the second roll of the dice and every consecutive dice, you need to be adjacent to the building that you just did. So what your building needs to be adjacent. So what I have an option of is I can go 1, 2, 1, 2. I can come over here and go 1, 2, 1, 2. So I have a couple different options I can do this for. What I'm going to do is go ahead, because I want to cover this, is we are going to go... Sorry, it's 1, 2, 3. We are going to go build the building this way. So we're going to cover those. And as you see, it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So we're going to go ahead and fill that again. So this is 2 separate buildings. And what's nice is now we've covered another rock, and the rocks we do not like. So we will go ahead and roll this again. And so now we have 3. So we've got a 3 slot that we can do, which we can go ahead and fit over here, which would be perfect. So we will go ahead and fill in these 3 right here. Now this is a line. And again, how that comes into play is later on, the different building types will mean different things. Let's go ahead and take a sip. We'll go ahead and do a couple more rolls. So this is going to give us an option to do however we want. And what I'm going to do on this one is, again, you have to have something that's adjacent. So what I'm going to do is we want to surround this tree right here because the trees we want to save. So this is going to be a solid. So I've got 1, 2, then my 3. And as you tell, now I've protected this tree, and the only downside is I need a 2 slot to fill in that spot. So let's go ahead and roll the dice again. All right, great. We got a 2 slot. So what I can do is go ahead and fill in this as another building. And then in the later on scenarios, you will want to keep track of the different types of buildings and what you have. So you can draw within it. Or one of the things that I've done with the other games that I've played this is I'll actually use different colors for the different buildings. You don't have to do that, but I thought it was a good touch if you use a different color for consecutive buildings. And I'll show you what that looks like. So let's go ahead, and there's another 2. Now, I want to go ahead and cover this right here. So even though this is a solid, you don't need to do this. I just kind of started doing this on this. As you can say, hey, this is a different building, so I want to make it a different color. When I first started playing this, I just used a pencil for all of that, which you can do. But if you want to kind of show how many different types of buildings you had, you could use the colored pencils. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, now we've got another one of these that is the space in the middle. So we've got a 2, 3, and a 2. So what we could do is go ahead and go around this tree right here. We'd go 2, 3, and 2. So this building would look like this. And again, if I wanted to, you don't have to. You could use a different color to signify that building. So we went 2, 3, and 2. Let's go ahead and roll again. Now, this right now does not mean anything, but later on in other scenarios, it will come to have some meaning. So this is just a 2 slot. So let's see, where do we want to kind of fit a 2 slot? I can go 1, 2. I go 1, 2, but if I go here, that leaves a little L. I think I'm going to do that because I want to get rid of the rocks as much as I can. And this will be an X. So again, I could use a color, or I can do that. Let's go ahead and roll the dice again. Okay, now I got a 1 slot. So let's go ahead and use this as the 1 slot. We will shake the dice again. We have another 1 slot. Usually you won't get that many ones together. I will go ahead and put it there. Let's do another dice roll. All right, so now we got an L. And you can kind of flip this around however you want. And I'm going to use this L because that's exactly what we were saving this 3 spot for here. I will go ahead and fill that in. Just going to use a different color because I feel like it. Now, so far, so good. We've covered the rocks that we can. We've got plenty of open space right here. So let's go ahead and roll a few more times. Okay. We have another one of these. These ones can get a little dicey as we go. But I like using those to surround the trees. So what we are going to do is do the 2 like that. And that's going to be the lines again. All right, let's go ahead and take a drink again. Do another dice roll. We got another 2. So now is where we've got to really figure out how we want to do these 2 slots and what we want to open for ourselves. So I'm going to go ahead and use the 2 slot here. And that will be the lines. Let's go ahead and roll again. Okay, we've got an L, which, how do we want to do this? Let's see. Oh, here we go. Be a solid. All right, so now we're getting towards where we're only going to have a couple more rolls left, and this is going to be where this comes into play. So let's see if we need to use that. Okay, we've got a 1er, which isn't so bad right now. We will go ahead and use it right here. And that would be an X. So we need a 3, an L, and we've got the 6th spot open here, which if we roll a 4 would be perfect to get some of that. Okay, so now we have a line of 4. Right, well, we can't use the 4 right here. We can't use the 4 here. We can't cross it over. We could use the 4 here, but we can't because it needs to be adjacent to a building. So unfortunately, we're not in a spot where we can use this particular 4 without having to kill off a tree, which we don't want to do. So what I'm going to do, which it sucks because we're going to lose a point, is this is where you say, I'm not going to construct a building this turn. And then when we do that, that means we're going to go ahead and miss 1 point right there. So now, at this point, we can decide, hey, I'm done playing and do the score. However, we're going to lose points for every open spot, and we are going to lose these points for these rocks. So we really need to fill those rocks in. So let's roll a dice, and hopefully we can get something useful. All right, so now we have an L, which we definitely want to use. We just got to figure out the best way to use this. So we can go 2, so that would cover those 3. We can go here and leave an opening there. We can go there and leave an opening. Trying to think the best way to do this. We're going to go ahead, because I have a feeling we've got a 4 coming. So I'm going to go ahead and build this. And that will be a solid. So now we have the 3 slot here. We have a 1 slot, and then we have this open area right here that we want to go ahead and try and cover. All right, cool. So now we have a 2 slot, which we can use here to cover these 2 rocks, which I think we want to do. So we're going to go ahead and build our 2 slot here. Cover those rocks. We will go ahead and roll again. All right, we got another 3, which isn't the most ideal thing right now, but at least we can cover these 3 right here. Okay, so now we have these 4 squares open, that square, and that square. So we will go ahead and roll one more time. And we've got a 2, which we're going to go ahead and use to cover these 2 right here. Now, I'm going to go ahead and stop and say we're done here, because unfortunately, we just have the 2 squares here and a couple of singles. And unfortunately, if I say we're not going to build the next roll, we're going to lose now additional point. And I don't think that's the best course of action right now. Let's go ahead and take a sip. All right, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to do the score. So you get 1 point for every tree. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, Okay, actually, we messed up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So you got 18 points for the total number of trees. For every rock that's showing, you're going to miss a point, but we covered all the rocks. And then for every empty space, you were going to miss a point. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 empty spaces. So we lost 4 points there. And because we did not build the building on a turn, we're going to lose a point right there. So we got 18 points minus 5 points, which gave us, for this episode, a total of 13. So what's going to happen is this will go ahead and give us a score of 13. So you can do this particular episode as just as the one-off, or you're going to build that as the legacy. So then we'd go to Chapter 1, Episode 2, Chapter 1, Episode 3, and so on. And what's really cool is each episode builds on an additional layer to the game. And this is where some spoilers will come in if you don't want to know what's going on. So what will happen is in the booklet, you'll see you get a bunch of these, which you can, of course, Xerox if you want. Each one is double-sided, so you have plenty to do. So what will happen is if we were to go to Chapter 1, Episode 2, you've got the map, but then it gives you an additional option to score more points based on the number of buildings in the largest group of each type of building. So then when you get into Chapter 1, Episode 3, it's going to have a well. Well, you're going to get points as you build buildings around the well. Then as you go, there's things in here where you're going to build churches. You'll build, you'll have one with the churches. Then you're going to have one where there's a sawmill. Then you're going to have one where there's gold that you're going to pick up. And then as you go on, there's going to be ones where there's bandits that you fight, and that's where the legacy aspect of it comes in. Here's the bandits that you'll end up fighting later on. That's the legacy aspect of it, where you're building up your score as you go. As you play the game, it'll give you the option for the table for the solo game mode, where if you play through Chapter 1, it gives you a score range of kind of how you would do 2, 3, 4, and 5. And of course, when you're playing with other people, it's just about who gets the highest score. So let's go ahead and take another sip real quick. I do like that. Now, I really enjoyed this game. We got it the other day, been playing it, having a blast. It's an easy, simple to use game. You see how small the box is. You see how well, if you want to just put everything in the box, there it is. You could put this in a suitcase, your backpack, take it anywhere. Or if you just wanted to take the piece of paper and the 3 dice, you can play this on the plane. From somebody who travels a lot, this is definitely a game that I will have in my suitcase. And I can see myself playing this game on a plane like I've done with other games. Really enjoyed this game. Would highly recommend it. It was easy to use. The instructions are very simple. And it is a simple game, but there is definitely a strategy to it, and we had a blast playing this. Would love to hear people to make comments in the comment section of, have you played this game? Did you enjoy this game? What did you like about it? What did you not like about it? And if you're a fan of the roll and write type games, what are some other roll and writes that you would recommend? And what are some other roll and writes that you would like us to see talk about on the channel? Would also like to know what your thoughts are on the Johnnie Walker and this particular brand of the High Rye. Let's go ahead and take a sip. Do really appreciate it, everybody taking the time to watch these videos. Would kindly ask you to like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And again, would love to hear what your thoughts are on this particular game, and if there's any other games out there that you would like to try. Until next time, cheers.